They make Ruto's re-election a hard task. Kalonzo Musyoka is also in the picture with the likes of Eugene Wamalwa. That is the DAPK party leader. I invite you in this conversation this morning via social media platforms at K24 Tv at Joel Chacha, as well as SMS and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of your screens. I'll be sampling some of them before wrapping up New Dawn. In studio, I'll be joined by very key guests. That is Advice Mundalo, National Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party. Honorable James Gakuya, who is the Embakasi North Member of Parliament, also a very close ally of the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who is facing troubles, and Peter Mushendu, who is a political analyst. Keep the conversation going, and of course, I'll be sampling some of your feedback. Before getting to a newspaper review this morning, we begin with these stories, where the Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association has warned that secondary schools across the country could close early due to the government's failure to disburse the full capitation funds for the year. In a statement to newsrooms, the association's chairperson, that is Willie Kuria, said schools are grappling with a severe shortage of funds needed to prepare for the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education exams and other end-of-year assessments. Kuria urged the National Treasury to release the remaining 6,000 shillings per learner so that schools can have adequate preparations and the necessary facilities to prepare, or rather, for the preparation of the national exams. Busara Naman reports.
Secondary schools in Kenya are facing a serious financial crisis following the delay by government to release the remaining capitation. In a statement to newsrooms, the Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association chairperson Willie Kuria said currently the government has only released 15,192 out of a capitation of 22,224 per learner. From the 15,192 shillings, schools were directed to deposit 3,850 to the SIBA account for infrastructure and development, leaving the schools with only 11,342 shillings per learner for tuition and operations, which is significantly less than the required amount. And now, due to the situation, schools are grappling with a severe shortage of funds needed to prepare for the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education KCSE exams and other end-of-year assessments. The association has also warned that schools may have to close before the official date of October 25th. Kuria also laid out the growing debt crisis, saying that it has led to some suppliers to take legal action, while others are refusing to provide goods on credit, further straining the situation. Capitation funds are typically used to cover essential expenses such as stationery, laboratory equipment, co-curricular activities, staff salaries, utility bills, transport, and administrative costs. Kuria warned that if the remaining funds are not released, the schools will have to be closed next week, earlier than the official closing date of October 25th, and the staff employed by the schools will also be forced to go on long holidays without pay. Busara Naman, K24 TV.
Now, a petitioner, Advocate Morara Omoke, has filed a case at the Eldoret High Court seeking to prevent the Chief Justice or any other person acting under her direction from swearing in a nominated Deputy President in the event that the Senate upholds the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua as the country's second in command. Additionally, Morara is asking the court to allow Gachagua to remain in office as Deputy President until all cases filed in various courts across the country are heard and determined. High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi is today expected to rule on whether over 10 cases will be consolidated and if the Chief Justice should empanel a bench to hear the matter.
Despite filing more than 10 court cases challenging his removal, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has now made a fresh request. He seeks to stay in office until all pending cases are concluded should the Senate uphold his impeachment. A petition filed in the Eldoret High Court by Advocate Morara Omoke also calls for an order restraining the Chief Justice or anyone acting under her authority from swearing in any nominated Deputy President to replace Gachagua.
The issue of the judiciary, we shouldn't worry about that. I think the courts will make an intervention at the appropriate time. More cases are going to be filed. We have 10 and you can expect another 20 cases to be filed by the time this process is completed. And one way or another, the courts will give some orders. The most important thing is that whatever happens, the courts ought to give an order a conservatory order keeping him in office until all these cases are heard and determined, and also preventing the swearing in of a replacement.
Morara argues that the public participation process was flawed, claiming that it should have been conducted in all wards before members of parliament signed the motion. He further alleges bribery in the collection of signatures and even suggests that some MP signatures were forged.
What they have done is that they have set up public participation centers based on the 47 counties. What they ought to have done, at least, is to ensure that the public participation happens in each of the 290 constituencies of the National Assembly at the very minimum. We have the 12 special seats, the ones representing women, youth, and workers. They should also have a forum to engage the women, to engage the youth, to engage the people with disability, and the workers, and all those special interest groups represented by the 12 nominees in the National Assembly.
Meanwhile, High Court Judge Lawrence Mugambi is set to rule on Friday on whether the multiple cases challenging Gachagwa's impeachment will be consolidated and referred to the Chief Justice for the impanelment of a bench to hear the matter. The Senate is preparing to investigate the 11 grounds for Gachagwa's removal, as presented by the National Assembly, where 282 MPs voted in favor of the impeachment, with 44 opposing. The Senate vote is scheduled for next week, and Morara's petition will be mentioned on the same day, when the Senate will also determine Gachagwa's fate. It remains to be seen whether an interim order will be granted.
Because the president doesn't find him to be a pushover, because what a deputy who is a yes boy or a yes girl, that's why we are being told of Kindiki and Waigoro. Have we spoken about her and the scandals that were there before she became governor? Have we talked about that?
Joel Chacha, K24 TV, Nairobi.
Meanwhile, as the impeachment process against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua continues to unfold, emotions are running high, not just in political circles, but also among ordinary Kenyans who hold him in high regard. One such supporter is Asha Chengo, a food vendor at Mamangina waterfront that is in Mombasa County, whose personal connection with the Deputy President has given her a unique perspective on the situation. Our reporter Fred Kai spoke with her to find out more.
In Eric Mamangina waterfront, we meet with Asha Chengo, a local food vendor, hard at work at her cave. Her connection with the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua caught our attention, and we wanted to know more about their friendship.
Alikuwa anafanya zoezi, amejifunika mavuli, kulikuwa na mvua. Nikamsalimia, mheshimiwa, habari asubuhi. Akanisalimia, akaenda. Around 3 ndo akaja sasa, akapita. Ilikuwa hakuna mvua, akapita. Alipopita ndo akanambia, habari yako mama? Naambia ni nzuri. Habari ya kazi? Naambia kazi ni nzuri, nashukuru Mungu, Yesu ni mwema. Akanambia ni sawa. Haya, kwa hivyo kazi akaniuliza maswali, kazi inakutosheleza? Nikamwambia kusema la kweli, hii kazi hainitoshelezi, ni kukula tu, hata na school fees na rent inanipiga chenga. Akanambia, kwa hivyo natakaje? Nikamwambia mimi kitu nataka ni watu wangu, naitaka wasome paka wapendukie.
Asha recounts how the Deputy President has been a constant source of support since their path first crossed during his regular walk along the waterfront.
Nilivyoenda sasa kuona na Deputy President, kuingia kwa gate, nilihisi kama nimeingia mahali peponi, nikajisi niko tofauti kama wanawake wengine. Nikashukuru, akanisaidia na 100,000. Nikalipia mtoto wangu form 1. Ndio hii pesa nyingine, ndio hii hapa, nimenunua viti. Ingine nimejenga kibanda, ilikuwa sina kibanda.
Though she leads a busy life, Asha is keenly aware of the political development surrounding the Deputy President. As the members of Parliament debate the impeachment of Gachagua, Asha urges them to reconsider.
Nasikia uchungu napomwona Deputy Gachagua anapata anaingia majaribu isikuwa hata. Lakini itafanyaje? Sina uwezo kwenda bungeni kumtetea. Sina uwezo kwenda bungeni nimwambie jamani, mtu mheshimiwa ana makosa. Na ni lazima Mungu mwenyewe ndo kila kitu.
She believes that a true friend stands by another, especially in times of need. A reflection of her deep affection she holds for Gachagua. she has now turned to prayers, seeking divine intervention for his vindication.
Mungu ndiye atakusimamia kwa kila kitu. Mungu atakusimamia kwa kila jambo. Apiganie nyumba yako. Apiganie paka kazi yako, Mungu.
Next week, the Deputy President will face the Senate in his impeachment hearing, and Asha hopes the Senate will find him innocent of the charges leveled against him. Frederick, K24, Mombasa.
Still in the same breath, the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has sparked discussions on who could replace him if the Senate upholds the motion. Names both within and outside the Mount Kenya region are being floated as potential candidates for the position of the Deputy President. We take a closer look at the pool of names the President is likely to choose from should the position become vacant.
6 of the Kenyan Constitution states that when a vacancy occurs in the office of the President, the Deputy President assumes the role for the remainder of the term. Article 147 adds that the Deputy President acts as a President when the President is absent or temporarily incapacitated. The Constitution of Kenya, which is the supreme law of the land, places the Deputy President a heartbeat away from becoming the Commander-in-Chief, essentially making the Deputy President a President in waiting. The Deputy President elected on a joint ticket with the President can only leave office through death, resignation or impeachment, the latter being the process that Gachagua is currently facing. Following the successful motion in the National Assembly, the case has now moved to the Senate, which will conduct a trial to determine whether the 11 grounds for Gachagua's impeachment are valid.
In the unfortunate event it proceeds to the Senate, I'll be there again to prove my innocence by way of evidence. When I called this press conference, there was a lot of speculation that Rigathi Gachagua wants to resign. This is a man elected by 7.2 million Kenyans.
With his fate hanging in the balance, speculation is rife about who might replace him. Several names have emerged as potential contenders for a position that under the 2010 Constitution seems more of a burden than a blessing.
Hiyo kiti ya Deputy President, hatuitaki Mount Kenya, ni kiti ya ujinga. Naomba hiyo kiti kwa sababu walisema Rigathi Gachagua ni tribal, isiletwe tena huku Mount Kenya. Iperekwe Rift Valley, kitu utajaribu kuleta huku hatukitaki.
Outside the Mount Kenya region, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi is seen as a likely candidate as the seat may be taken away from the mountain region.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, a former vice president, is also in the mix. His experience and political standing might appeal to a president eager to make a bold political statement. Additionally, Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga has been heavily mentioned, with the broad-based government likely to consider inclusivity in its decision-making. Within Mount Kenya, other prominent names rumored to be in contention include Kithure Kindiki, who is the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Lance C.S. Alice Wahome, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, former MP Peter Kenneth, Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro, Laikipia MP Mwangi Kinjiri, and Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah.
we must also agree that going forward, if a man is a candidate for president in our party, the woman must be the runner.
Should gender play a role in the president's decision? As hinted during the G7 meeting earlier this year, potential female candidates could include Anne Waiguru, Gladys Wanga, former Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, Cecily Mbarire, the chair of the UDA party, and Martha Karua, the leader of the NARC Kenya. Gachagua, eager to defend his seat, is now up against a system seemingly intent on his removal. The silence of the president in the midst of this turmoil could signal approval of the impeachment process.
To end divisive politics in our country, Rigathi must. To end the culture of impunity, conflict of interest, abuse of office, state capture, and corruption in high office, Rigathi must. For accountability, for there to be integrity in the political governance of our country, Rigathi Gachagua must.
The role of the broad-based government will be critical in choosing the next deputy president, especially considering the opposition's vocal push for Gachagwa's ouster in the National Assembly.
If Ruto today resigns, it is Gachagua who is going to be president. Is he a better option? To me, I say no. Gachagua is worse than Ruto. He's a tribalist. He's in Kenya. He's a company with the shareholders where we don't belong.
Brian Amuai, K24.
So help me God.
Tumpongeze kwa mako.
A very interesting piece there by our very own Brian Amuai, which will also form a better part of a conversation this morning. Keep the conversation going via social media platforms at K24 TV, at Joel Chashazola, and SMS and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of your screens. I'll be glad to sample some of them before wrapping up Newton this morning. Away from that, stakeholders in the health sector, including mental health experts and survivors, are urging the government to declare mental health a national disaster due to a rising number of cases. This plea comes as the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health report that 1 in every 4 people is affected by a mental health issue. Robbie Omondi has the details.
Encouraging you to consider owning your mental illness instead of it owning you.
As the world marked Mental Health Awareness Day, it was established that the society lacks knowledge on what mental health entails.
Like I remember my dad that time, after discharge, he always asked me if I was under drugs, like bang or alcohol. And my mom on the other side was questioning herself if maybe I was bewitched or anything.
Despite statistics showing that 1 in 4 Kenyans experiences a mental health issue, awareness remains low.
Yaweza kuwa ni wewe, yaweza kuwa ndugu yako, yaweza kuwa ni mtoto wako.
Na tukishirikiana na department ya health pia tunatarajia kuanza kufanya assessment katika watoto wa shule. Kila nyumba kwa sasa tunavyozungumzia lazima kuna mtu ambaye tayari ashaathirika.
Currently, most counties lack psychiatrists, many depending on referral hospital, especially Mathare Hospital for mental health services.
34 counties have a psychiatrist and some mental health services. Majority of these are at our county referral hospitals and only 5 at sub-county hospitals. 13 counties lack any sort of mental health services and they rely on their nearest county hospital or Mathare National Teaching Hospital for the services.
It is estimated that for the Ministry of Health to tackle matters mental health, it needs to invest 40 billion towards service delivery and mental health centers.
For example, persons dying out of suicide, the rampant homicides, and the menace of substance use among our youth. Without intervention, we expect these challenges to rise with the rising population growth and increased pressure of life.
The ministry has also called upon employers to ensure healthy working environments for its employees.
Employers are encouraged to implement mental wellness programs that address the overall mental well-being of their employees, prevent the occurrence or worsening of mental health issues, and provide care and support for those who require treatment.
In Mombasa County, drug and substance abuse has been linked directly to mental health with a need for rehabilitation services.
Tuwe na intervention kwamba wale ambao pia watakuwa wamepona baada hili zoezi pia tumewapatia vitu vya kufanya ili wapate nini maisha yao yaweze kuendelea.
To this end, a further call has been made to the health insurer to ensure mental health is taken care of in the new cover.
It was okay not to be okay, and that seeking help, professional help, is a sign of strength.
Robbie Omondi, K24.
Well, and as promised, today being on a Friday, we review the events of the week. Of course, that is related to the woes and tribulations facing the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. In studio, I'm already joined by very key guests. Seated on my immediate right is Honorable James Gakuya, who is the Embakasi North Member of Parliament, also the chair of the Trade Committee in the National Assembly, and as well Peter Mushendu, who is a political analyst. Thank you so much for getting time this morning, gentlemen. We'll be right back, of course, with the newspaper review, even as Advice Mundalo, who is the National Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party, will be joining us shortly. A conversation that you can't afford to miss. And you're also, of course, free to join our social media platforms at K24 TV and as well on SMS and WhatsApp numbers on the bottom of your screens. I'll be sampling some of your feedback before wrapping up New Dawn this morning. We take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll be highlighting what is on our dailies this morning. That is the People Daily, the Standard, Daily Nation, and as well the Star newspapers. Stay tuned.
Are you a church and seeking to reach an even bigger congregation? K24 TV and Kameme TV